Let's talk about the owner's manual for your brain. You know, the one you never actually got at birth? We're going to dive into a guide for that incredibly complex and, yeah, sometimes really frustrating machine that lives between your ears. We'll explore why it does what it does and how you can become a much better pilot.
Okay, let's start with a question that I think every single one of us has probably asked at some point. Why is it that you can be the most intelligent, rational person in the room, but the second the pressure is on, all that logic just seems to vanish? You snap at someone you love, you completely freeze up during a big presentation, or you make a choice that you regret almost instantly. I want you to know, this is not a character flaw. It's actually a design feature.
And this amazing analogy, right here, this is the key to understanding pretty much everything we're going to talk about. I want you to think of your mind not as one single thing, but as a rider on a really powerful horse. When everything's calm, when the path is smooth, you feel like you're in total control. But the moment a threat pops up, that horse, well, it has a mind of its own. So to get a handle on our own reactions, we first have to get to know the horse and the rider. So to really understand this rider and the horse, we got to look under the hood. See, our brain isn't just one single unit. It's actually built in layers, from the bottom up over millions and millions of years of evolution. So let's meet the three competing bosses that are all vying for control inside your skull. First up, way down deep, we have the ancient reptilian brain. I want you to think of this as the basement of a building. It's not fancy, there's nothing glamorous about it, but it runs all the essential utilities. Your breathing, your heart rate, your sleep cycles, all the stuff that keeps you alive without you ever having to think about it. It's the silent automatic operator that's been on the job since the dinosaurs, and it cares about one thing and one thing only, keeping the lights on. Now, layered on top of that basement is the limbic system. And this is our horse. This is the powerful, emotional engine of our mind, and it is constantly scanning the world for just two things that might hurt us and things that might feel good. Is that a friend or an enemy? Is this safe or is this dangerous? It's what drives us to connect with people, but it's also what makes us react in a split second to anything that even smells like danger. And tucked deep inside that emotional brain is this tiny almond-shaped thing with a huge job, the amygdala. Think of it as the brain's smoke detector. Its only job is to scream fire at the very first hint of danger. And here's the crucial part. It is designed to be fast, not accurate. It would much rather give you 100 false alarms for a piece of burnt toast than miss one actual fire. This system evolved to save us from lions, not to deal with passive-aggressive emails, which kind of explains why it can feel so over the top in our world today. And finally, we get to the top floor, the newest and most sophisticated part of the brain, the neocortex. This is our rider. This is the part that makes us human. It's where language and planning and rational thought live. It's our internal CEO, our watchtower. But, and this is a big one, it's a brilliant CEO, but it is a slow one. And in a crisis, speed is everything. Compared to the lightning-fast horse, our rider is often the last one to even know what's happening. So, you've got this slow, thoughtful rider, and this incredibly fast, powerful, and reactive horse. Most of the time, they kind of work together. But what happens when that smoke detector goes off? What happens when the horse gets spooked? So a perceived threat, and it could be anything, a looming deadline, a critical comment from your partner, or an actual physical danger, that's the trigger. And that trigger sets off this cascade reaction that completely bypasses our rational brain. The amygdala screams, danger, and it floods your body with stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. Your heart starts pounding, your muscles get tight, your breathing goes shallow. This is the horse bolting. This is a full-body, ancient survival program taking over the whole system.
Let's just look at this side by side. On a totally normal day, the rider, your neocortex, is in charge. It can hear the horse getting a little antsy and say, "Whoa, easy there. It's just a rope on the ground. It's not a snake." But in a state of peril, the alarm from the emotional brain is so loud that it basically cuts the phone lines to the rational brain. The horse doesn't wait for instructions. It just hijacks the entire system. At that point, the rider isn't steering anymore. They're just hanging on for dear life.
And this is so important, so please hear this. When you lose your mind under stress, it is not you failing. It is your biology succeeding. This system is designed to save your life from a predator, not help you navigate a tense meeting. The problem is, the horse can't tell the difference between a saber-toothed tiger and an angry email from your boss. To it, danger is danger. So, if this whole hijacking thing is just a biological fact, are we just doomed to be slaves to our emotions? No, Absolutely not. The goal isn't to get rid of the horse. We need its power, its energy, its intuition. The goal is to become a better, wiser rider. And the good news is, science shows us there are two very distinct paths to get there.
Okay, so we can work from the top down, which basically means training the rider. This is where we use our conscious, thinking brain, our neocortex, to observe and influence our feelings. Or we can work from the bottom up, which means we have to speak directly to the horse in the only language it really understands, the language of the body.
So first, let's talk about soothing the horse. This is all about calming your physical state. You cannot reason with panic. It doesn't work, but you can calm it. Taking just a few slow, deep breaths where you make your exhale longer than your inhale sends a direct signal to your nervous system that says, hey, the danger has passed. You are safe now. Even something as simple as feeling your feet flat on the floor or holding a cold glass of water, these things can break that freeze response. It's not just a distraction, it's literally speaking the language of your emotional brain. All right, once the horse is a little bit calmer, then you can start training the rider. This top-down approach is all about mindfulness. First, you just notice. You notice what's happening, like a curious scientist. Interesting. My heart is racing. I'm feeling a lot of anger. The key is to just acknowledge it, without judging yourself for it. You're not bad for feeling that way. That little bit of non-judgment creates space, and only then, in that space, can the rider, your rational mind, step in and gently reframe the story. Okay, that comment was upsetting, but this is not a life-threatening emergency.
So where does all this leave us? Well, it leads to a really simple but profound order of operations for managing our inner world. It's a kind of practical wisdom that's literally encoded into our nervous system. And this right here is the ultimate takeaway. You cannot outthink a panic attack. You can't reason your way out of a rage. The order of operations is what matters. You have to first use those bottom-up tools to soothe the horse. Calm the body first. Only then can the rider, your rational mind, climb back into the saddle and use all of its wisdom to steer you towards a thoughtful response instead of a knee-jerk reaction.
Look, understanding this system isn't going to fix everything overnight, but it does give you a map. It gives you the power to respond to your own internal alarms with some compassion and skill, instead of just frustration. So the question isn't if your horse will bolt again. It will. We're all human. The real question is, now that you have the manual, what are you going to do next time?